All right, it's that time of the week, time for your favorite show. You know you love it, right? And if you don't mess up my vibe, right? That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. It's time for the NFC West Huddle. That's where we go around the horn in the NFC West division and check in with each reporter in each market for each team and find out how they're feeling about their individual team, right? Over in Seattle, we got my guy, Ethan McReynolds. He's the guy that deals with all the funny memes that I send him on Instagram. He does a great job of that. And then in L.A., it's Gerard Moncure. He's the champion of champions. He's so cool, he don't even need a background, right? He doesn't need no stinking badge. He doesn't need a back. That's how awesome he is, right? In San Francisco, it's my man, Keyshawn Ward. If you want tickets to the gun show, he's got it. I wanted to be voted best dressed in high school. He got best biceps. That's who he is. Yes, and away we go. It's time to talk about the National Football League and how it affects us here in the NFC West division. Let's start with the Football Power Index, right? Already some teams in the division not getting any respect, and then others, the usual suspects, getting all the respect, right? We go in order. We start with the top team in the NFC West when it comes to the football power, the FBI, right? We start with, yes, Gerard Moncure in LA. You guys were what, 10th in the National Football League? Do you agree with that ranking or not?
You know what? I kind of agree with it. In front of the Rams, at the top of the list, or the usual suspects, Philly, KC, Buffalo, Detroit, Baltimore. I'm not sure why Green Bay and the Chargers are actually a couple slots in front of the Rams inside the top 10s. Both of them have tougher schedules, at least on paper. They don't seem to be as good as Sean McVay's squad coming into this year. But the Rams are in front of the 49ers, and they should be right now, although the 49ers do have the easiest schedule in the NFL coming up, and they definitely should be in front of both the Redbirds, the Cardinals, and the Seahawks. So I think 10th is like a pretty good spot considering the Rams won the division last year. They were a play from beating Philadelphia and hosting the NFC Championship game. I think they're kind of right where they should be, with the exception of maybe they should be in front of the Chargers and the Packers.
All right, that's Gerard. He's saying, yeah, we should be in front of the 49ers. Keyshawn, are you going to take that? He's already taking shots at you. You guys are ranked 11th in the National Football League, of course, ahead of us here in Arizona and in Seattle. What do you think about your number 11 ranking?
Nah, Richard, I'm going to have to agree with Gerard. Just because the Niners have the easiest schedule, as he mentioned, and it's the easiest schedule since 2015 when the Atlanta Falcons had it, they're going to be facing the AFC South, the NFC South, so it's not going to be a lot of great teams on their schedule. But the Niners still have a pretty good roster, and especially if they're still, they have players that are healthy. I mean, you got guys like Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams. Having your star players out for a majority of the year really affects the team. So if those guys can stay healthy, I think the Niners should at least have 10 to 11 wins. But that does not mean they're the best team in the NFC West. So I would have to agree with Gerard that the Rams do have the best team, and the Seahawks and Cardinals should be behind the Niners.
Wow, okay. I thought you were my guy, man. You're already going to start hitting me like that already. Gut punch, way ahead. Again, no respect for the Arizona Cardinals. It's my turn now, right? I'll talk about the Cardinals they're the Rodney Dangerfield of the National Football League and the NFC West. Did we forget who led the division for almost the entire season, just till the end? It was the Arizona Cardinals. They had this division in the bag, and they were doing so well until they faltered at the end. But, you got to give them credit, and you got to see that this franchise is trending in the right direction. They had 8 wins last year. They had, 4 wins a year before that. If they keep projecting the way they're going, they should have double-digit wins. And they got better on the defensive side of the football. So I think the Cardinals should be way higher than 20, closer to the Rams and the 49ers, because they had you guys last year until they played Seattle. But that's okay. The one thing is, at least they're not dead last, right? They're ahead of the Seattle Seahawks. So, Ethan, I'm sorry to say, but we should be ahead of you guys. And I'm sorry about all the memes that I send you. I'm going to keep sending them to you. You got to respond quickly, otherwise I'm going to send you more.
Hey, keep them coming. I love it. I mean, as far as the rankings, I could not disagree more. And I actually feel like this is the amount of disrespect that would be the perfect first entry into my new diary that just came in the mail. I took a page out of your book. It seems like it's really effective for you getting your thoughts on paper. I thought I would do the same here. I mean, these rankings are absolutely ridiculous. I've talked about it on the show before, but I think the Seahawks being picked to finish last in the division is just completely off base, let alone picked to finish in the bottom half of the league at 21st, where the power rankings have them. I think the upside of their defense in year 2 of Mike McDonald's tenure, I think it's going to keep them a top 15 team at the very least. I think that's their floor. And then add in a new coaching staff on the offensive side of the ball, including better coaching along that offensive line. I'm very optimistic about what this team can accomplish this year. Maybe not contending for a Super Bowl or anything crazy like that. I know Gerard, the Rams, Keyshawn, the Niners are looking up at those rankings, towards the top 10. But I think it's very realistic for this Seahawks team to push for a division title, those Rams and Niners, in a weaker NFC West. Now, last year, these same ESPN rankings also had the Seahawks ranked 21st overall. They end up winning 10 games, only missed the playoffs because of a 5th tiebreaker with the Rams. I think all the turnover on the offensive side of the ball has the national media distracted from how elite this defense can be. The Seahawks are going to be a whole lot better than people think in 2025.
I want to see that diary again. Can I get another look at that diary?
Thanks to ChatGPT for designing the cover for me. It's going to get a lot of use over the offseason with how much you guys are frustrating me with the disrespect over here.
That looks like the wallpaper I had when I was like 8 years old or 9 years old. So
I got to throw it back.
This is my diary. This is an adult diary right here, okay? I'm going to tell you. All right. So now it's on, Ethan. It's on. I like it. All right. When you look at the schedule, right, for each team in the NFC West, sometimes you look at the schedule and see a certain game, you say, okay, it's on, right? So I want to ask you guys, which game is the revenge game, if you have one? Let's start in San Francisco with Keyshawn. I know that the 49ers are playing the Carolina Panthers. Christian McCaffrey used to play for the Panthers. Is it still a thing, or is it so far removed it's like, who cares?
I wouldn't put too much stock into that game. I think the Niners are going to blow the Panthers out anyway. But I think the only game on their schedule could be a revenge game. Might be a little bit forced, but I think when the Rams come back to San Francisco and play at Levi's Stadium. Here's why. When the Rams came down there, they beat them 12-6, and that was the first time since 2019 the Niners did not score a touchdown. So I know an offensive-minded head coach like Kyle Shanahan is going to take that personal, is going to put some points on the board. And plus, over in the offseason, Puka Nacua made a comment about the 49ers and Brock Purdy's contract situation. Nacua believes that the window is completely closed because the Niners paid Brock Purdy more than $50 million. So he believes that in order for the Niners to stay relevant, they had to lowball Purdy and keep more stars around them. So I know the Niners use that as bulletin board material. So be on the lookout for that matchup when the Rams come back to Levi's Stadium to face the Niners.
All right, so are you, Gerard, all right? He takes a shot at you, now you're taking a shot at him. This is like Kendrick and Drake. I'm like, do we have to keep you guys separated?
You know what? If Deebo Samuel would have done his job, they probably would have won that game. But,
Whoa.
Yeah.
And
you know what?
All right, Gerard, well, let's talk about your revenge games, right? Is it the Eagles? Or is it the 49ers? Because I know you guys lost to the Eagles in the playoffs. You got them again this year.
You know what? That little run the 49ers had over the Rams where they kind of owned them, Kyle Shanahan getting the best of Sean McVay, that's out the window now. The Rams are on to bigger fish to fry, and that would be the Super Bowl champion Eagles. September 21st, Week 3 at Philadelphia. It's a rematch of that divisional game in which the Eagles were in front pretty much the entire way. One costly turnover beginning of the fourth quarter by Kyron Williams changed the complexion of the game. And then the Rams made a serious run to the point where they were one play away from probably winning that game despite the terrible weather and hosting the NFC Championship game against the Commanders in Los Angeles. So you better believe that, even though it's in Week 3, is a measuring stick game for where Sean McVay's squad is and can they truly compete to get to another Super Bowl in the McVay era. September 21st, Week 3 against the Eagles. That is the marquee matchup, at least at this point of the year. That will change once that game has passed whether they win or lose the game.
Yeah, I got to admit, I'm anxious to watch that game. It's going to be a good matchup once again, that's for sure. All right, over in Seattle, Ethan, I'm going to guess it's got to be what, DK Metcalf coming back or playing against his old team with the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, revenge, it's actually a big theme for the Seahawks this season throughout the entire year, aside from DK Metcalf. I'll get to that game at the end. I mean, there's revenge games all over the board, even in the preseason. I mean, game number 1, Pete Carroll returns to Lumen Field for the first time since his departure. I feel like reunion is maybe a better word than revenge there. I'm sure Pete's going to get an incredible ovation when that game comes around. But getting into the regular season, you've got Clint Kubiak playing his former team in the Saints in Week 3. Cooper Kupp's going to be looking to get his revenge on Gerard's Rams for cutting him this offseason, replacing him with Devontae Adams. Same theme for Sam Darnold, getting to face his former team in the Vikings in Week 13. But Richard, you mentioned it. I think the biggest revenge game for the Hawks has to be facing DK Metcalf and the Steelers in Week 2. Not many players have forced their way out of Seattle by requesting a trade like DK did just a couple of months ago. Week 2, it's going to be a great opportunity to show the DK that the grass isn't always greener on the other side.
All right, over here in Arizona, I'm going to say every game. This is the revenge tour type season for the Arizona Cardinals because, like I mentioned earlier, they had the division. They had it. And if I had to pick, it would be Carolina, right? They got to get those guys back because that loss to Carolina, you were like, oh, as a Cardinal fan, they were just so bummed out because that was a game they had to win, right? So I'm also going to say Seattle, too, because Seattle swept the Cardinals with Geno Smith, who's not that guy. You know, well, he's not that guy until he plays the Arizona Cardinals. Then he becomes that guy. So I don't know, what he has about the Cardinals, but boy, he always loved to stick it to them, that's for sure. So I say the whole season, revenge tour, but especially Carolina and Seattle. All right, and speaking of Seattle, let's go back to you, Ethan. Which rookie has to have an immediate impact for you guys to be successful this season?
Yeah, I mean, for the Hawks, it has to be first-round pick Gray Zabel on that offensive line. I don't think there's another answer to the question. The O-line, it's been the biggest area of need for this team for a few years now, and that need, it's only grown this offseason with moving on from Geno Smith, who performed extremely well, given the poor protection he got the past few years. Now you go to Sam Darnold, who doesn't excel nearly as much when he's under pressure. He gets a lot more turnover prone. That's not going to work with the style of football that Mike Macdonald's trying to play. He's set to slot in at that left guard spot. And the Seahawks are going to be looking for solid play from the first-round pick right from the jump in Week 1. They got a couple of other draft picks in there. They're looking for contributions. Safety Nicky Manwari, tight end Elijah Arroyo. But it is Gray Zabel front and top of that list on that offensive line if the Seahawks want to compete this year.
Yeah, that's a big if, right? Because you guys are still ranked below us in the football power index, so just remember that, Ethan. All right, but hey, when it comes to the Arizona Cardinals, normally, like you said, Ethan, the top pick, you want him to contribute right away. He should, right? Especially if it's in a position of need, especially like the Arizona Cardinals. They needed some help on the D-line. They draft Walter Nolan, a guy that they say could contribute right away. But I'm going to pivot and say I think it's going to be the second-round pick, Will Johnson, the cornerback out of Michigan, the guy that was projected to be a top 5 pick if he was healthy. Big if, right? I know that's why he dropped all the way to the second round because they had some issues, teams did with his knee and his toe. But the Cardinals did their due diligence and they jumped on the opportunity to draft him. And they say, I mean, if this guy hits, he could be like a honey badger type of steal in the draft for the Arizona Cardinals. And now when the Cardinals get bad news with Sean Murphy-Bunting, their starting corner, being put on the non-injury football list, and he's out for the year before training camp even starts. I'm like, typical Arizona Cardinals. Like, such bad luck. I mean, they already got a guy out before the season even starts, and he didn't even get hurt on the football field. So that's why I think Will Johnson, the kid from Michigan, the stud, has to come through right away for the Arizona Cardinals. All right, in L.A., Gerard, who do you guys got that has to step up? I know, the Dodgers always have a rookie that comes out of nowhere and contributes right away. What do you think the Rams can do?
Well, I'm not going to say that it is their second-round pick, their top pick overall, Terrence Ferguson, the tight end from Oregon, because Tyler Higbee is back healthy. In their final game of the year, Higbee caught 7 passes for 54 yards and a touchdown in that 28-22 loss to the Eagles. So Ferguson is going to definitely be playing behind Higbee. Now, if we weren't talking rookies, I would say the acquisition of free agent Poona Ford from the Chargers put into that defensive line would probably be the guy that's got to produce the most. But since we are talking rookies, we're going to go with the third-round pick, linebacker Josiah Stewart from Michigan. You know, he has a chance to compete and start in the spot that Christian Roseboom left when he went off to the Carolina Panthers. Everyone knows the Rams' run defense might be the weak link on the defense. So him stepping in with the opportunity to play right away and produce on a defense where it's up and coming with a lot of young guys might be the most important rookie position that the Rams have, where they're going to need to see production right away in this upcoming season.
And that's the great thing about the National Football League, right? You always have a rookie that comes out of nowhere and just surprises people. You're like, man, this guy was a steal. Keyshawn, who do you guys think that's going to be over there in San Francisco?
I think the most important draft pick that the Niners need to have contribute early is Mykel Williams from the University of Georgia, their first-round pick. I mean, since Nick Bosa got paid, it seemed like the Niners have been searching for another pass rusher to really help Nick Bosa because, you know, half the times you're playing against them, they're chipping him, they're double-teaming him, so Bosa's not as effective. So having Mykel on the other side will not only improve their sack percentage, but also help the run defense. The Niners had a 56.4 Pro Football Focus grade, which is not good at all. And you can even look at the way Robert Saleh drafted in this year's draft. He picked up a lot of defenders who could stop the run. And that's something that Mykel Williams could do, both with, you know, pressuring the quarterback and keeping contained on the RPO or design run. So I think the Niners have a lot of high expectations on Mykel Williams.
All right, those are the rookies that we expect to come up big. How about an overall player, right? Any player on your roster that has a fantastic season, an MVP-type season. If the National Football League MVP comes out of the NFC West, who do you guys think is going to be that particular player? I'll go first here in Arizona. I'm going to say Kyler Murray. I know who most people in the division are going to say, the rest of you guys. So I'm going to say Kyler Murray. One, because last year he was in the MVP conversation. He was having a fantastic season. And then again, I know I'm bringing up old stuff, but then they faltered down the end. Thanks a lot, Gino. But anyway, look, he was doing great. They were doing great. And I think even this year he's going to do even better because he's going to have more support, especially on the other side of the football where the Cardinals got much better on defense. They were downright defensive this offseason. James Conner is back. Trey Benson, the backup running back, right? You need a thunder and a lightning. He's going to step it up. So they're going to run the ball. They're going to play good defense where Kyler doesn't have to be a superhero and he can just pick his spots on when to take over the game when he wants to, not when he has to. So I think Kyler Murray could have that type of season, an MVP-type season, and he has to because now it's time for him to step up or else it's going to be some trouble for him moving forward with the Arizona Cardinals. So this is his year, and I think he's going to have a breakout year, so we'll have to wait and see. All right, let's go to San Francisco. Back to you, Keyshawn. I have a feeling I know who you're going to say, but go ahead. Who do you got coming out of the NFC West as a MVP-type candidate?
Well, they just paid him. I mean, more money, more problems. It better be Brock Purdy. I think Brock Purdy, especially looking at their schedule, I know it sounds like a broken record at this point, but when you're playing a cupcake schedule, you should have a lot of touchdowns. So it shouldn't be that hard for Purdy to get maybe at least 35 to 40 touchdowns. I mean, he did a couple of years ago when he finished fourth in the voting when he's competing against Lamar Jackson and them. But yeah, I think it's really all on Purdy. I mean, we all know that he performs well when he has all his pieces around him. So if they can stay healthy and Purdy has a competent team around him, why can't he do great? So, yeah, I think if Purdy could have at least 35 to 40 passing touchdowns and closer to 4,500 passing yards, why not? I mean, you paid him, so this is the time to Purdy to show that he's worth that contract.
Wow, okay. I thought you were going to say Christian McCaffrey because when he's on, the 49ers are a tough team to beat. Plus, he was on the Chimichangas, my fantasy team last year, so I was expecting him to do that last year, but he didn't.
Well, Richard, here's the problem with that. One thing I learned with the National Football League is the MVP award is essentially a quarterback award. I was to say Christian McCaffrey, but it seemed like the highest they could get is an Offensive Player of the Year. So I want to say McCaffrey, but until I see a skilled player win MVP, I can't do it yet. So I'm going to say Purdy by default.
Yeah, but pretty good point. That's for sure. All right. In LA, Gerard, let's say you can't vote for yourself to be the MVP. What player do you think would be the MVP coming out of the NFC West?
That's solid, Richard. Solid. I'm going to give you some points for that one. That's pretty good. It's got to be Matthew Stafford, guys. I mean, we all know this. The Rams are only going to go as far as Matthew Stafford can take them. And let's also face it, the expectations are not just winning the division. The expectation is to at least get to the NFC Championship game, if not reach the Super Bowl. So how do they do that? They do that by protecting Matthew Stafford. This offensive line is now experienced. It should be healthy. They have added Devontae Adams to go along with Puka Nacua and Tyler Higbee. So it is the Matthew Stafford show, to be honest with you. Sure, Kyron Williams can run the football. Sure, Blake Corum can run the football. But when you have Matthew Stafford at the end of his prime, he's 37 years old, it's pretty obvious. As long as they keep him healthy, they always have a chance to win that game. We've seen that time and time again. So there's no doubt. I actually thought about this for a little while. Is there anyone else on the offense or anyone else on the defense that is the standout guy? No, the standout guy on this team is clearly Matthew Stafford. That's why they will be in the Super Bowl possibility talks, especially if they beat Philadelphia in Week 3. It's easily Matthew Stafford, guys. I mean, and I hate to say this, even though they have Jimmy G as a backup, but if Matthew Stafford goes down, so does the Rams season. And I think everyone realistically understands this.
All right. I'm surprised you didn't vote for yourself because I saw you wearing that T-shirt that says "I love me some me." So I thought maybe you were going to vote for yourself. But anyway, okay. Over in Seattle, we check in with Ethan. Ethan, please tell me you're not going to say Sam Darnold because. Look, I wrote it in my diary for you to see that, look, Gino's not that guy. Sam is just some guy. He's just a regular guy. Right? He's not even that guy. He's just a guy. So please tell me it's not Sam Darnold.
Well, I was going to say, we got a couple of homers in here. I wish I could go with someone from the Seahawks, but I don't see it. I'll concede to you, Richard. Until Sam Darnold proves otherwise, he might just be a guy. I think he can do well this year, but not MVP type numbers. For me, I'd have to agree with Gerard. I think it has to be Matthew Stafford. He's really the only quarterback in the division that's proven he can play at that top-end level and carry a team with his arm. I do think, Richard, I sort of see some merit to your argument. I think Kyler Murray has MVP potential, but I trust Stafford a whole lot more to put it all together. Plus, I hate to be that guy. There could be a new Call of Duty released in October. I don't know if I need to say more. I'm going to take Stafford if it's from the division with Kyler as my dark horse. Call of Duty release date pending. I will say, Sam Darnold, really big golfer, YouTube golf, that whole scene. I'd rather have my quarterback playing YouTube golf than being super into Call of Duty because we've seen what that can do to Kyler Murray's play.
All right, I'm putting it in my diary. Ethan kind of agreed with me, then gave me a slap to the face there with the Call of Duty. I'm putting it in here. I'm going to keep my receipts. You know that, right? Okay.
Please do.
Now let's talk about the whole Aaron Rodgers situation, right? What's going on with Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers? Does he want to play? Does he not want to play? The Steelers are thirsty. They're sitting there, they're waiting for whatever you want to do, Aaron Rodgers. I mean, all right, let's go to L.A. first. You guys love drama there in L.A. Gerard, what do you think about this whole Aaron Rodgers? And Terry Bradshaw saying this is a joke. The Steelers shouldn't be catering to this guy.
Richard, when a 4-time Super Bowl champion, Hall of Famer of your organization, Terry Bradshaw, says this is a joke, well, you better open your ears and listen. No one knows more about playing the quarterback position than Terry Bradshaw. We're all in organized team activities right now. And where is Aaron Rodgers? Nowhere to be found. If I was a Steeler player or a Steeler fan, I would be upset. Right now, the vibe that Aaron Rodgers is giving off is that he's more concerned with doing podcasts and shows and talking about conspiracy theories and government issues than he is playing quarterback. You're going into a new team possibly. Reps are at a premium even at this time of year, and I know the argument against that would be, well, Aaron Rodgers is a savvy veteran. He's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He doesn't need as much time as other guys. That is baloney when you're going into a new system with new teammates. Timing is everything. And more importantly, the respect from those teammates is more important. How do you think all these Pittsburgh Steeler players are sitting back, waiting and wondering if this guy is going to be their guy this year. They can't respect that. There's got to be some resentment. And let's face it, the guys that are going to be playing under Aaron Rodgers, if he arrives in Pittsburgh, they got to be like, what the heck am I doing here if this guy's not even here? I just think it's a bad situation overall, and I completely respect Terry Bradshaw for stepping up and having something to say about it, because if I was a Steeler fan, I'd be upset. And let me add this. When Matthew Stafford was rumored to be talking to the Raiders and the Giants about possibly a trade because he wanted his contract redone, I was an advocate against Aaron Rodgers coming to play for the Rams. He has a home here in Malibu. You better believe he would have made a beeline to come be the Rams' next quarterback. And I am so glad that Stafford returned, because that would have been the worst thing that could have happened in the Sean McVay era, Aaron Rodgers becoming the quarterback of the Rams. So I'm very glad that didn't happen. And if I was a Steeler player or fan, I'd be very upset right now.
Yes, that's a great take. I felt like just saying preach in the middle of your speech there. And you got an excellent point, because like you say, reps are important, especially at this time. You know who's been in the gym more than Aaron Rodgers? Keyshawn Ward. And he's got the biceps to prove it. So let's go to San Francisco. Keyshawn, what do you think about this whole Aaron Rodgers situation?
Richard, give me some time with this one. Oh my God! So let's start from the beginning. All right, I see both sides with Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. Why this is such a complicated relationship. So on the Steelers side, they're clearly traumatized by when they drafted Kenny Pickett a couple of years ago. So they didn't want to really go out on a limb and draft Shedeur Sanders at number 21 overall, because they didn't know if Shedeur is really going to be that cornerstone player for them. Like, would he be a quarterback that could possibly be a game manager? They don't want to get into that and then possibly deal with the outside noise with the Sanders and whatnot. I don't know what was their decision making with that. Neither they say they end up drafting Derek Harmon, who's going to be the backup to Cam Hayward. Makes completely no sense to draft a D-tackle at that position, and he's not going to be the starter. I think they still got Shedeur Sanders, but that's the conversation for another day. On to Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron can see that this is not a great roster. Gerard made a great point. I guarantee you, this is the Minnesota Vikings or Los Angeles Rams. He could have been signed. He got a house by now in L.A. I mean, it's just that simple. So I think that Aaron Rodgers knows that this is a 21st roster in terms of like how they're constructed. It's not a really great team. They're not even the best team in their division. Arguably the third or fourth. I mean, the Cleveland Browns are bad, but I think Steelers not where the Baltimore Ravens or Cincinnati Bengals where they are in the division. So I think that it's just a bad mesh. So I think what's going to happen is even if Aaron does become a Steeler, I think this is going to be the last year of Mike Tomlin, whether he gets a winning record or not. It's done. Steelers got to start over. Terry Bradshaw is right for what he did. It's over. I think Mike Tomlin gets fired, and I think Aaron Rodgers goes off the sunset as a loser on the Steelers or retired. So I think either or what happens, it's a bad situation overall. So it's just really ugly, to be honest.
Wow. All right. Tell us how you really feel, Keyshawn. All right, Ethan, over there in Seattle. I know Aaron Rodgers is no Sam Darnold, and you guys have a plethora of quarterbacks over there. What do you think about this whole Steelers situation?
Yeah, well, I mean, Gerard mentioned that the Rams were linked to Aaron Rodgers. The Seahawks were as well after that Geno trade, and we were all absolutely not. Please stay away. And, Keyshawn mentioned the drama with potentially coming with Shedeur Sanders. I mean, the Cleveland Browns organization getting all the questions after rookie minicamp and OTAs and everything. I mean, if the Steelers are afraid of drama, why are they going after Aaron Rodgers? It just, all sides of it make zero sense for me what the plan is in Pittsburgh. I think Terry Bradshaw was absolutely in the right with calling it a joke. That's what it is. Aaron Rodgers, it's just a traveling circus at this point. And then for him to sit there and deny the fact that he's keeping any team hostage with this decision of whether he's going to come back or retire, it's all ridiculous. And yet somehow all this, the Steelers don't have anybody to throw DK Metcalf the ball. The Steelers are ranked above the Seahawks in those ESPN power rankings that you brought up, Richard. Thanks for that. DK could have 4 different quarterbacks thrown to him through the 4 years of that big contract he signed. I don't know what DK was thinking with wanting out and then agreeing to sign a contract with a team like the Steelers where there is no stability at that quarterback position. All I can say is safe to say I'm pumped for that Week 2 matchup in Pittsburgh for the Seahawks.
Yeah, okay. You know, I'm actually going to put this in my diary. I think Ethan played defensive back because your makeup speed was great. You really made up for the show because I had you on the blacklist. Now you're back on my good list because I agree with you 110%. I mean, this is a joke, and it's unbelievable that the Steelers are putting up with this because it's very un-Steeler-like to play this, right? To even be entertaining this kind of drama, right? And when Mike Tomlin doesn't play, the Steelers as an organization don't play. So how desperate are they to be entertaining Aaron Rodgers and say, well, I don't want to retire, but I don't want to report right now. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. And I think Terry Bradshaw was right. I think all you guys are right. And it's crazy that it's the Steelers that are involved in this because that's not like them at all. We'll see what they do. I know they love Mason Rudolph. They've loved him for a long time, but he's not the answer. He's definitely not that guy. You know, I put him in the Gino Zambrono category.
He's
that's
a backup.
for sure. But yeah, so
God.
maybe the kid from Ohio State. You know, we'll see what happens. But I think it's a good thing for Seattle to get the Steelers early before they figure out their quarterback situation. But anyway, great time, guys. Thanks for joining us. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Thanks again for a great conversation. You guys were awesome. I'm going to start a GoFundMe account so we can afford a background for Gerard out there in L.A. We'll help you out for the next time we meet up. And Keyshawn's, he's got to go to the gym. So we got to wrap this up. Thanks for hanging with us, and we'll see you next week.